So what that is, Mark and Dale, is the first page, and a little more than a page and a half or so, comes from the first survey that was done.
Thank you.
And those are just those questions that we talked about last meeting, and we kind of all agreed that those were questions would be answered. And then the second part is from the Northwest Agricultural Business Center, which I found online. Some interesting questions about processing facility and so forth. So I thought it was at least a place to start.
That's a great idea.
Okay, I suppose I get to start this meeting anyways. So if you're ready, we'll start. That probably should be the first order of business, I would think, a new chairman.
Looking for a nomination?
We started? Yes, okay. As you all know, Steve Knox has resigned as our chairman. I am theoretically the vice chairman, but in my personal opinion, I do not believe that either Representative McConkey or myself should be chairman. We're very busy with other chairmanships, and I think it should be somebody that is not going to be distracted by commissioner delegation questions and confusions, etc. That's my personal opinion. Of course, I have no bearing on this at all, but I do think that I would like to have the first manner of business today to get nominations for a chairman. I will continue as vice chairman. I have no problem with that. But I certainly would respectfully decline to be chairman. So I open it up for nominations.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I nominate Dale as the chairman.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Are there any other nominations? I would like to nominate Sandy.
No.
I understand completely.
I could have just done that and been done with it. Said no. Darn it. Way to go, Sandy.
Are there any other nominations? All right. So I guess we'll do a vote just to make it 100%.
Well, actually, I think you should ask Dale if he would accept.
Great.
I didn't think he had an option.
Of course he has an option.
Well, do you want it?
No. But I will help you as far as getting the agenda out and that kind of stuff.
See, Susan, unfortunately, is a wonderful, wonderful secretary.
Right, so let her do it all. No, I would be.
I think that would be too
I-
much.
I was being facetious, but I would be glad and honored to be chairman of this committee.
So, the nomination has been made and seconded for Dale Drew to become the chairman of the Carroll County Lands Advisory Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Dale.
Mr. Chairman.
It's all up to you.
Oh, I gotta start now?
Yes, sir. You didn't think I was gonna do it.
Well, we don't have an agenda to follow, do we? Because we never.
The questions, I think,
Right.
were going to
Okay.
be the agenda, in my understanding.
Has everyone had a chance to look over the questions Susan presented?
Yes.
Does anyone have any additional questions that they?
I thought that was the homework assignment.
It was the homework assignment, that's why I asked.
Yeah, this is something I just pulled together this morning. It's not by no means what I would consider complete. I haven't even looked at it thoroughly. It's those two documents I pulled together, so there may be additional questions, so, that we want. And I don't know, do we want, for example, these first couple on the first page, do we want to list?
What are you calling the first page?
Yeah, I should have numbered them. So the second question being, what products are currently grown or raised on your farm? I mean, this is 3 pages, and we don't want to go forever. We want to get the information we want to get. Do we need to itemize everything out and then have an other, please specify, or do we just have it out? Let them.
If I could, I would, what barriers to your farm selling more products at the back of page 1. I think where appropriate, others should be added.
Oh, please, other, fill in the blank, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, yep.
Nancy, I was taking a more positive approach, rather than what's wrong with what's going on and how can we fix it. I was thinking, here's all the wonderful things that we could offer, and would there be an interest in them? And, for example, one of my questions was, would you be interested in pasture? And then what kind of species would you like to pasture? What type of fencing would you like? Would having fencing, perimeter fencing, be more conducive to your participating, or would you want your own personal electric fencing? Would it be solar? Would the county providing the electricity for the fence? That's kind of the take on most of my questions. Was I looked at what we had for resources, and to say, what can we do with these resources to make them more conducive to people in the community using them? That was my approach.
Can I ask a question? Susan, how do you see the survey as written? What do you see as the primary thrust and purpose of it to be?
To find if there's interest in partnering with a county, and adding value to the product, to their produce.
Okay.
So we have a commercial kitchen, and we have cold storage potentially.
Yep.
So, what are your interests?
All right, so in that case, and Amanda, what you were just talking about, so you would like to see this survey focus more on describing and looking for interest in use of the county resources?
Well, I think it can do both. I mean, we have the land.
Yep.
We have land that can be pasture, we have land that can be tillable land, we have land that can be hay,
Mhm.
or large cropland, actually. We also have the facilities to house. We have the facilities to, the questions that Susan has, that are addressed to value added, that are addressed to, what is hampering an individual and how could we help that individual. I was trying to, I guess, be more broad and touch on more people that would respond to this, because frequently we wanted to take a piece of the bottom land that we can't use for anything else and use it for pasture.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I don't think it worked was because it wasn't decided to do that until May, when people have already kind of got their animal production and they know where they're going to put it out for pasture. So I was thinking the survey, maybe because it's coming out this time of year, somebody might say, wow, if I could have 5 or 10 acres of pasture, then maybe I would get 5 more ewes this fall. So in the spring I would have 10 more babies and I could put them in that pasture. that type of thing. Because I think we were talking about, some people, their farms, their land is limiting them as to how big they can get. So if they're already enjoying raising sheep, for example, and they say, wow, I have a market for a lot of lambs in the fall, I just don't have the land to pasture them. And so what could we do to provide the pasture for them? And what would make it more conducive? You know, the idea, I know personally, my sheep have to have housing, so I can put them in every night. Now, in some areas, I have a permanent house for them, and in other areas, I have a trailer that I use. So those are the types of things that I was, people with goats do the same type of thing, I think. You know, even the chicken tractors require, how much land do your chicken tractors require?
For me to do, done probably 1,200 this summer, and I think I pastured them all on a little shy of 2 acres. And they're 13-foot diameter coops that we move every day. But we have it so we can rotate back around on the same stuff about every 2 or 3 weeks.
So that's the type of
So,
thing
yeah.
that, you know, and maybe nobody wants to come here and pasture, and that's fine, but I'd like to reach the people that might. And they could look at this and go, no, I don't want to go down there. I live in Chatham, and that's too far to drive every day. That type.
So we expand on, well, I've got a couple of questions along those lines. Do you have access to additional acreage if you could farm if your demand for product was greater? And then I also have another question that's not, let's see. If you were interested in a processing facility, a shared processing facility, how far would you travel to transport your product for processing? And then we also know the first question on the survey right now is, where's your farm primarily located? So we give an idea of how far they're willing to come from. But we could, like I said, we could expand on that question, ask those additional questions.
This would be where you would say something, Dale.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
And Dale's looking at this the same way. I almost bet you he's thinking the same way I am.
Could I
These
give
don't
you-
sound like farmer questions.
Could I give you a moment on that? How about we ask him right out, because I'm assuming that we're gonna give him some background that we have, all this acreage and so forth.
Kind of where I was headed.
Somewhere in there, but could we ask, do you have any interest in learning more about, possibly using it?
Well, that's kind of what I was gonna say. We should write some sort of little brief summary of what we want to do and why we're sending the survey. And kind of what our ideas might be as far as the whole property. And that way, someone would see that and then say, oh, maybe this is something I'm interested in filling out and getting some more information on.
Well, we
or
can
not.
include the inventory of the buildings and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need to do
So people
that
have
sooner
to-
rather than later, and even as far as the hay production, it'd be good to know how many bales we produce this year. So if someone wanted to come in and do the hay operation and take it out of the county's hands, kind of that way, which I will discuss in more detail later today.
I think that should be part of the survey, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Do you have an idea how much hay they made this year? Just, you don't have to give me an exact number, just ballpark.
I don't. I know it was 500 they sold the other day. Remember I told you?
Yeah, right.
I did check on that.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
But Will would have that information, correct? How many bales they,
Yes, and I don't think he told us how many bales he had done total Wednesday when he was there. He talked, I was just trying to think of what he said. he was talking about, no, he didn't give us a number on the bales. But things like that, that's, you know, easy to get. But I'm not sure that's part of the survey. We
Well,
could ask
if you had a hay farmer that wanted to come in,
that would be
and-
part of the survey.
right, exactly.
Well, wouldn't that come under, well, I guess that would be another, because I have interest in pasture, interest in tillable land, interest in the buildings. So that would be, I guess that would be a separate thing, because I was putting cropland, but, because that is a crop, but
Right,
then.
exactly. My reasoning would be more for value per acre as hay, as opposed, say if someone wanted to come in and grow 25 acres of X. Well, does it make more sense for the county to keep it as a hay field because they're making more per acre as hay? Or could it be more per acre for the whatever crop X is? You know what I mean? And that's gonna, because whatever, my feeling is whatever we can have somebody else do is gonna decrease the amount that the county would have to pay to maintain said land. If we get someone to come in, and I use leases because that's what we've been using as the word, 25 acres, that's 25 acres less that the county would have to take care of for X amount of years or 1 year, whatever the agreement was with said partner.
If I may.
You may.
That's what part of the survey that I was, you know, because I'm not sure that in some instances like pasture or even small 2-acre crop,
Right.
that, you know, whether they, that's part of the questions I was asking, whether they want fencing, whether they want water, whether that would be a deciding factor. If you want to plant pumpkins, would you want the land plowed and harrowed first? Would you want to come in and you plow and harrow it? Or would you want it plowed and harrowed and you'll come in and till it? Those are the things I think we need on the survey.
Well, do we want to determine what the county's willing to do prior to asking that question?
No, I think what we need to do is have a survey.
Okay.
Because there's no point in asking if the county is willing to put up a mile of perimeter fencing if nobody wants to do any
Right.
pasturing here. I mean,
No, that makes sense, makes sense.
Right, it makes perfect sense.
And the other thing is with a garden, if somebody wants to put in a truck garden, they don't call them truck gardens, what do they call them now?
They're market garden, it's called market garden now.
Okay, if somebody wants
Same
to
thing.
put in a 3-acre market garden, would they be more inclined if there was a perimeter fencing, or do they want to put up their own fencing? So those are the thoughts that I thought ought to be on the survey. And you know, I've seen surveys where they say, well, do you have any interest in this? And if yes, then there's some more questions, and if yes, then it gets more and more detailed. But if the answer is no, you
Yeah,
just
move
go on to the next.
one,
Yeah, you know, because if the survey said, are you interested in pasturing chickens, I'd say, nope, let's go on to the next thing. Whereas you'd say, oh, yes,
Right.
and you'd have,
Exactly.
you know, some of those questions, only a person that pastures chickens would understand,
Right.
because what do you have to do to pasture to keep it healthy?
Right.
You have to lime it after they've been there for so many trips or years, or,
Yep.
I don't know.
exactly.
Maybe
Oh, that
mine
makes
was too
sense.
detailed, I don't know. But the others
I think
seemed awfully.
we can get a little too detailed.
Seemed awfully general, and more, you know, like using the old nursing home and the facilities there rather than the land. That was just,
Well, this was just a start. I mean, this is by no means what I thought was complete
oh, well,
whatsoever.
this is just a start. I
Yeah,
didn't-
yeah, yeah. I
This
think
is
we
Susan
can-
doing
we
her
can just-
Yeah, So what did you do for homework?
12 o'clock this afternoon.
You're never supposed to say that.
Yeah.
Wow,
What do you mean, you did this last Saturday after our meeting, you want to get it done on time?
well, it's not done, so. Yeah,
So-
no, we can definitely.
Susan, do you see their homework?
Right.
So what would you guys like to do as the next step? Would you like to organize these questions into categories and add more detailed questions to the main questions?
Well, I think they can be sorted, yeah.
Because the
As far
sooner
as
we get this done, the
categories.
sooner we can get it out there,
Yep.
and the sooner we can explore and figure out what we're gonna do if people are interested, or move on to the next item if no one's interested.
If our goal is to get people interested in using the resources here on the property, why do we care where their products are sold?
Okay?
Why do we care if they sell or donate anything to any of these other programs?
I didn't know either. That was the one we talked about last
Right.
meeting that you agreed that you would answer. It wasn't necessarily that it belonged on our survey.
That's correct. I
so-
don't think a lot of this
No.
belongs here. If that, it depends on the purpose of the survey.
I can see a reason for the donating product if we had a food pantry on site. And the people that were processing food here or growing food here wanted to donate, we could have a central donation facility as a food pantry type deal.
Most of the farms that grow produce do actually
Yeah, I
donate
know.
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
So that was my point there. I mean, that would, if you had a centralized area to where you were gonna donate, and if you were, and we had a facility here to store said product, and then make it accessible to the public to come grab it.
Well, you could have a more general question without
No, I
having
agree.
specific details.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can we go along with what you just said? Why don't we define our purpose? Why are we asking these, first of all, what do we want to find out? So let's define the purpose for the survey, and then we can look at the questions and decide whether or not they belong on the survey, what's missing. So I think if we're going to send a survey out, we don't necessarily want to send a survey out 3 different times to the same group of people, because we do
No.
want to know about a learning center, eventually. We want to learn about a commercial kitchen, and maybe a processing facility.
Mm-hmm.
So, just right off the top of my head, those are the 3 things I'd want to know. And that's where some of those questions come in. Do you need help distributing your product? That can go either way. Do you need help marketing? Do you need help developing a business plan? Those kind of touch upon
Those would
the
be more
learning center.
business incubator type questions, which would be nice to have around here.
Right.
But, I mean, I say it would be nice. Is it really needed? I don't know.
Well, that's what we'd find out when we
Yeah.
ask those questions.
This is one of those moments again, right?
You're
I'm just
there.
checking. Okay, so I think what we should do is, everyone has a copy of this, correct?
Yep, you should.
This will be our main worksheet to go off of to categorize and add and subtract.
Yeah, but could we go to define the purpose first?
Well, can we do that? Can we define the purpose on that face sheet we're gonna put on top of all these questions? Can that
Write
be?
it down.
Well, what my point was, let's define the purpose so this committee understands where we're headed. So we know exactly what we're
okay,
asking
us.
these questions
Okay.
for.
Sorry.
And if we go to Vanna at the big board,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, then we could all be
Yep.
shooting at the same page, with the same word.
yep,
So last week we talked about meat processing. right?
Yeah, but what
That's
do we?
not the
we're-
general
Okay.
purpose.
What would be your purpose in sending out this survey, Amanda?
To involve the people in Carroll County with the property.
Susan?
I think we want to understand if there's an interest in the property.
You said to involve people in the property. In what, involve them in what way? Walking the trails, using it for agricultural purposes?
Well, I thought this was the agricultural production
Okay.
piece that we were talking about
Agree.
right now.
So we gotta involve residents? Agricultural purposes, right?
Yep.
Gee.
I'm still taking back that you're left-handed.
That's not that unusual.
Okay.
It's a great sign of mathematical intelligence.
Who's, Carroll County land.
Yep.
Susan?
Commercial kitchen.
So you want to?
We want to we want to learn if there's an interest in the commercial kitchen.
Question. Interest in commercial kitchen. What's your purpose for sending out the survey, Dale?
My purpose would be along the same, it's kind of a combination of both, but add in to see if there's any interest in farmers, and I'm using that term loosely, to see if they want to become involved in a public-private partnership using county land to better their farming business.
Would you translate that so I can
More
understand
profitable.
what you just said?
Say that again?
Would you translate that so I can understand what you just said?
To find out if people that have farms would be interested in joining a private-public partnership with the county to better their farm business. Same, along the same ideas as you. If you have lambs and you can only grow X amount, but you can double that amount by using county land, there's your private-public partnership, and they're growing their farm business using county land.
Okay, so involve residents, okay. I guess so.
I think it's important that we put in that part of the purpose is that it's a public-private partnership. I think that needs to be in there.
So you want to increase or improve
Profitability.
their
Increased farmer productivity.
productivity or profitability?
Well, it could be both. Profitability if you can turn that produce into value-added products.
I
If they're
agree.
using our commercial kitchen.
So you're focusing more specifically on farmers.
I am.
Amanda is looking for a broader group, and Susan's looking for the commercial kitchen usage. Mark?
I'm going to expand on something that's going to be talked about later when you talk about that. Are they interested in being part of a cooperative, using the property for the benefit of their own farms?
Which
Okay,
would be
that's-
back
which is
to number
different-
one.
Which is different than a public-private partnership.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
these
more
would be
back
part
to
of the-
number
part of the
one.
cooperative.
So are you focusing more on farmers or any entrepreneurs?
Farmers.
Okay.
See, the good thing about doing this is all four of those things can be done here at the same time.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, just one survey.
Right.
But I also want to make sure that a couple paragraphs in the beginning
Mhm.
talk about what it is we have, which is our lands, our building inventories and so forth, just to give them a feel.
But you see, I also think
So
they
am I
have to
stating
know
this right,
and
farmers
also.
interested in cooperative use of the county?
As far
land?
as fencing,
To
water,
benefit their
electricity,
businesses.
Okay.
facilities, right.
benefit their individual farm.
Yes.
Okay.
Mark, you want to give an example of that, please?
What's that?
An example of that cooperative?
It could be pasture land for cattle or something like that. It could be,
You want me to give an example?
yeah, I'll give you.
Okay. Say you have a group of farmers that can't afford to spend $6, $6.50, $7 a bale for hay. You get a group of them together and they take over hay, and you have something called, oh, I don't know, the Carroll County Hay Cooperative. And they take care of they do all the hay on property. The county gets a set amount per bale, and then they sell hay at a discounted rate to
Who sells?
self-fund the cooperative.
Thank you.
To their members.
To the people that participate.
So the
in
people that
bringing
participate
data.
in the cooperative.
Which is very similar to what Beginner Farmers does over in Belknap County.
I know.
Yeah,
Where do you think I got my idea from?
I'm sure they'll you can thank me now for introducing.
I know, I
me.
thanked you 3 times, but I will
Yeah.
keep thanking you.
And the cooperative or Beginner Farmers pays the landowner
In
a
half.
set amount per bale.
The state of New Hampshire gets 25 cents per bale on 7 fields down by the old
yeah,
Yep.
place down
that's what I thought that Mark was talking about.
there. He was.
And that has been
But
going on
it
for
could
at
also
least
be,
10
there might be something else here that works for that same purpose.
Right.
They also can do that,
Similar
people
thing.
that have roadside stands of their own, often will get 4 or 5 together and they'll go someplace and put in a big field of
Yep.
gourds or whatever, and then distribute. But they're all responsible for the work.
Right. And that money made, no one makes the money, it all gets put right back into fields, fertilizer, equipment, things of that nature.
Yes, actually, I think the Beginner Farmers they pay for all the fertilizer, don't
They
they?
pay for the fertilizer, and the person who does the actual haying for a beginner farmer, this is where it'd be a little bit different than there. He gets half of what he
Harvests,
makes.
yeah.
So if you go to a field with 1,400 bales on it, he gets 700 of them right off the top. And
So
then
what do the beginner farmers do?
700.
No, but what do they do?
They sell the hay. at a
They
dis-
do not physically do anything with taking the hay in?
Most of it's picked up right out of the field. So, and they do have 2 tractor trailers to store if they have to.
Okay, they hire someone to do the hay.
Yes, but
That's
there's
correct.
no money that changes hands. But yes, he just gets the hay.
I understand
Okay.
that, but
Amanda?
how he's paid or not. So my question is, the beginning farmers don't do any of the cutting, raking, baling, etc.
Exactly.
They just pick it up,
Exactly.
and they only pick up half of it. Or do they pick it all up
Well,
again
the,
too?
the customers who belong to beginner farmers, they put in their orders at the beginning of the year with a check, and then when their number comes up, because it's all done in order of when you order, you come get your hay.
Right, but my question is, do they also get together and put the person who's doing the haying?
No, the beginner farmers is not.
They are responsible for
There's
their
one
700 bales.
There's one person that's kind of in charge of the haying operation for beginner farmers, and she's there, and she will help, but it's usually just you. And she'll open the door and she'll help when she can, but which would make the cooperative a different thing, but yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
No, yeah,
That's different
exactly.
than a cooperative. What
Right, way
you're doing is somebody comes and does all the hay,
Right.
walks off with half of it.
Right.
And then beginner farmers, they can
Right.
do whatever they want, but their other half is laying in the field.
Exactly. Yep.
Amanda, there used to be, probably about 15 years ago, there were beginner farmer members who owned the equipment and did the work, and people would get together and help with it.
Yeah.
People get older, or they move, whatever,
that's what I was familiar with in Stratford.
They have about 25 customers left in this beginner farmers thing.
Now, the beginners farmers here in Carroll County is it still active?
Not really, not really. We still have some equipment, but it's basically semi-dormant.
The problem is I've learned that there's no one in Carroll County to represent it. There's no Carroll County person.
There was a couple people that were doing it for about 15 years, and they finally decided that time for somebody else to step up,
And no one stepped up.
and nobody stepped up.
But
That
anyway,
is something that we should make sure these surveys go to those that we're part of or associated with, because there may be some things here that would help to reactivate that.
That's correct. There might be. Are there any other purposes for this survey?
How about the outright rental of all the property or parcel as an individual or a company? We've asked about cooperatives, we've asked about public-private partnerships, someone interested in long-term leasing.
one person, the whole property?
Well, yeah, or,
Sure.
100-acre parcels or
Right, yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just saying, maybe that would appeal to someone else, I don't
Yep.
know.
I would have thought that would have come under number one.
Oh. Maybe. By the way, I keep putting
Put
it
S in
down
parentheses.
I can 100% see someone coming here starting a tree farm on 50 acres of land, definitely. Christmas trees or whatever.
But when I see the word residence, I think of 5 people running around, our residents. When I pose this question, I'm looking at a corporation, I'm looking at a
Yeah,
really
okay.
big farm, I'm looking at something more substantial. Whether they're out there or not, I don't know.
Well, you're looking at potentially like the greenhouses in Tilton and soon to be in Berlin.
How about those solar farmers?
Right, yeah.
commercial farms
Yeah.
interested.
So is solar farm under this heading, do you think?
I threw that out in light. You're speaking of different farmers, one I take.
Well, I'm
Make sure we
I'm
mention
in
our
favor
solar
of a
farms.
solar farm. I am very much in favor. I already have a spot picked out where it'll work perfect and it'll do just wonderful.
Well, that's what I'm
And it won't
saying,
interfere
is
with
I'm not,
us.
question 1 is residents. I'm trying to get to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I don't know if I used the word resident, but I used,
Yes, 3 times.
I think you did.
did I
Amanda,
say
which is why
residents or did I
yeah.
say, people in the county? That's what I meant, was people in the county. I don't care. People in the county, because that includes farmers, that includes businesses, that includes everybody.
You used residents.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it could be people, it doesn't matter, but I'm still saying that I'm thinking a big picture when I say commercial, and I thought yours was we involve a bunch of people.
Well, it may only be one. It may only be somebody that wants to just rent the whole place and make it into a big agricultural school.
I think we're trying to appeal to 2 different,
Well,
my thought
but I'm saying-
when you talk though, that's expanding it out a long ways. The word residents or people is, Ed wants to expand his greenhouse operation up here. I'm just saying, and when I say commercial, I mean, I don't want 1 acre, I want 10, I want 50, I want 100. So.
Mhm.
Well,
So
it might want,
you'll kind of break your survey people out right off the bat, like you said.
Yeah.
And that will dictate the tenor and the tone of the questions that you ask.
So Sandy, I'll ask, what's your now that we have it sort of figured out what our purpose is, what would you want to do with it, if these 5 pieces of information?
Or add
4
yours,
pieces.
what's yours?
Well,
What's yours?
Yeah.
my purpose for this survey would be to find out if there is any entity that is interested in use of the resources that we have available. And in order to do that, I think we have to tell them what resources we do have available. And I think we also might want to think about the type of uses that we would not want to approve.
Well, see, that's not up to us.
Well, I don't mean us, I mean the county.
Right.
But you don't want to put those questions
Yeah.
in your survey either.
No,
Well,
that won't hinder our survey. That can come at a later date. No,
Yeah.
we're not interested in that kind of a partnership, but.
Dow Chemicals wants to come, we can
Yeah.
push them out.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it is,
Or someone wants to come and put a coal-fired plant in here, I think we,
Did you say clean coals?
no, I didn't,
so do we want to take these 4,
or even clean.
do we want to take these 4 purposes and
this 5, 6.
5 or 6.
5?
One I crossed out.
Yeah.
I'm just going by the
3,
dashes
4,
on the side.
5.
Okay, perfect, 5. Do we want to take these 5 purposes and
Try it.
try to put these questions into one of those 5 categories?
No.
Or what do we want to do? I'm asking.
My thought, well, if you want to come out with multiple surveys, that's fine. But my thought would be to take these and rework it into a single purpose statement.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
It's lonely at the top, Dale.
Well, I know, but I keep reverting my head back to our mission statement, which basically says everything that we want to do. So,
But this is the agricultural production piece of it.
Correct.
Remember Sandy did that nice
no, I know.
spreadsheet?
So Jane, do you have some thought on how to condense this?
No, I don't. I just wanted to see something on paper.
Okay.
So that we could all look at the same piece of paper, because I could write down what Dale said, and Amanda could write down something different, but referring to the same statement.
You know, it's kind of interesting, because I was just sitting here thinking, there's 5 individuals, actually 6 in the room that deal with agriculture in different ways, you know. So maybe what we should do is come up with a question and then look at it from all 6 perspectives and see if we can make it broad enough so that the person would want to answer it, or it would be of use to us if they answered it. For example, Susan buys eggs. So Dale
I don't
doesn't.
weigh them.
Ed has laying chickens. Right? So their outlook on egg production is different. But if we come up with a question about produce, maybe we can make that question general enough so that both of them would want to respond. And that would be valuable for us. Mark eats eggs.
Every day.
So it's amazing what I know about some of you. So maybe he might have an outlook on it as more, he wants the value-added product. He's not interested in the egg raw. Susan, on the other hand, is interested in the raw egg. And Ed isn't particularly interested in the raw egg, he's interested in the hen that laid the egg. Does that make sense?
I know where you're headed with it, yeah. I totally understand where you're headed with that.
But I mean, that's, talk about out of the box, and to kind of put that into some sort of a question that each could answer, and we could glean the necessary information we're looking for out of it. I think the other thing we need to do is each of us has in their head an end result. And I'm not sure that quite, for me, the end result would be all the tillable land used for crops, all of the pasture land used for pasture, all of the buildings used in some sort of agricultural endeavor. I mean, so that's kind of like my final site. But I think Susan's is a little different.
Not taking it quite as far as you are, but the final, what I want to get out of the survey is just simply, is there interest or enough interest to continue to explore opening the Carroll County lands up to commercial endeavors? I mean, we may not find, well, when Steve's talking about, Carroll County, what are they producing, 5% of the food that stays here or something, or people buy, yeah, so it'd be nice to have local food. What's hampering farms now from producing more, and what's hampering farms from adding value to their produce? If they aren't, maybe they all are, but we talked last meeting too about, what was it? The commercial kitchen in Portland I talked about, I forgot the name of it, and there was another
In
one.
Portland or the one in Meredith?
There was one in Portland I had,
Oh, okay, I forget the name.
Forks something, I don't remember.
Yes, yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah.
So, suggestion, should we take information on the big board and try to write a couple sentences to a paragraph and try to figure out to incorporate everything into like a cover sheet for the survey? Or do we just want these questions? We don't want these questions.
We don't want the questions.
Right, so do we
want-
want
have
to
have
write-
a cover sheet of
Right,
some
so do we
sort.
want to make sort of a paragraph or two mission statement using all 5 of these topics? Because I don't want to.
Mission statement within a mission statement.
Right, exactly. I mean, we have the broad mission statement for everything. Amanda's right, we're trying to talk about the agricultural end of this right now. So if we make sort of a sub-mission statement for this topic, using the 5
Using that.
categories we have up there, and then we can go from there. So if we have that, and I took a picture of my phone so I don't have to write it.
Well, I don't have one of those fancy phones.
Then we can, if we all do that, when we meet again, whenever we decide to meet again, we can either pick a winner or collaborate to make one, if we all put our head into it a little bit. Rather than let's just go somewhere with it and get it done, because the sooner the better, because Sandy's right too, and Amanda's right, we need to get it out sooner, before May.
Oh, we were talking about December.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, but if we get it done, we can get it out. And we can advertise that we're getting it out too, which will be key. Because I believe the MW Veg Group is having another big meeting in November.
Are they?
I think so. So that's a great basis, because you have the producers and the consumers part of the same group. So they'd be good ones. And then we should really try to get into the Carroll County Farm Bureau, those
I
members,
can
and try to
take care
figure
of
that out.
for you. There aren't that many, we have the list already.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know Steve has had trouble getting information from the president of that organization as to when we could meet, and if we could meet, I know. But yeah, so there's been some
Well,
issues
you should
there.
have come to our banquet Wednesday night.
Is this Wednesday?
No,
No, it-
last
Yeah,
week.
last Wednesday, right, yeah.
Maybe he had something else to do?
I don't know. But any information you need from that, I can get.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Matter
yeah,
of fact, I am going up November 3rd and 4th, I think it is, or 2nd and 3rd, to Wakefield, to the State Bureau Convention. So,
when is that, the 2nd or 3rd of November?
Second.
Yes, Ed.
Just wanted to add my 2 cents. Since we're brainstorming, right? This is
Chicken farmer.
brainstorming. You're looking to lease the land out. It would make more sense to make it very simple and list what the resources are,
Mhm.
and then basically said, would you be interested in leasing it? Because this is all gonna have to go out competitive bidding. You can't just, pick a certain sector of the economy and say, if this land will be available to you for all your agriculture needs. You can't. What about everybody else? What about solar companies? What about other people? So I would list the resources and then have somebody say, would you be willing or would you be interested in leasing the property, and then put the mission statement. I mean, you can't just use, and you said public-private partnerships. How's that gonna work? Are you gonna aim this project only at a certain sector?
Well, no, I think the goal is to get it as broad a shot as we can, but I think we can, or the county, I'm probably gonna be wrong here, but that's gonna be okay. The county can pick and choose who they want to bring in and not bring in, to a point, can't they?
Well, if it's something that's going to be let out for lease, then it has to go out with an RFP and people make a bid. But in that case, they're going to, I would not have any interest in a pasture that didn't have water. So that would be on the survey, and I would say, no water, no interest. Whereas somebody else that has a big, huge water fire truck or whatever, that wouldn't be a problem for them. So that's why I had this on here, but
But an
to
RF
keep it really general as to what do you want to do, I think as long as we list our resources. But there again, do you want 5 acres of tillable land? Do you want it plowed and harrowed? Do you want it fenced? What is it that creates the interest? That was my thinking, because when we went to rent that piece down there, and that was going to be free rent for pasture, there was only one response. And it was like, I can't understand that. Well, there was no water, there was no fencing, it had, you had to supply all of this, there was no housing. So those were things that people that I talked to afterwards, I said, well, why weren't you? Well, it's this or it's that, and one of the big things was no perimeter fence on that particular pasture, because they don't mind rotational grazing themselves with goats, but, if the goat gets out, then you have all that liability.
Yeah.
So that's what prompted my directed questions.
Amanda, but usually, educate me please. Are you saying that, well, if you're talking about an RFP, you have to have something specific, and it has to be this specific piece of land. It can't be, I would think, it can't just be some random 5 acres somewhere on the farm, can it?
Well, see, that's what I thought the survey was going to tell us. If the survey came back and there was a lot of people that wanted a 10-acre piece of land to grow
Whatever, to use however.
a market garden on, then that would be the thing that we present to the commissioners. And the commissioners would either yay or nay and present it to the delegation. That's what I thought this was going to do. Now, if we put this out and we have 10 people that say, Heck, I'd like to rent the whole 900 acres for, whatever their purposes might be, but they would have that interest, then that would be, okay, there's more interest in this would be more financially beneficial or whatever. So that would be what the RFP would be about. It wouldn't be so much, okay, we're gonna write an RFP and you tell me whether you want 1 acre or 100 acres or 900 acres,
And
that's-
which one?
Yeah, it has to kind of be more, but that's what I thought this survey was going to do, would be to help with that. That was kind of, to involve the people in the county. And
So. what do you-
however way they want to show on the survey, they would like to be interested. Because there's no point in offering to rent 100-acre pasture for pigs if there's nobody that wants to rent 100-acre pasture for pigs. And this, I think, would tell us. I'm done, you can talk.
Oh, no, you say the pig thing, I had a 4-H during fair week telling me that pigs don't eat grass. So when you said 100 acres, it entered back into my head, I chuckled. So, okay, so let's try to bring this back around. So we want to incorporate this in a submission statement to attach to our questions. And I'm just holding this paper because this is what's having our questions on it, whatever they are, whatever we decide to be. And so step 1 would be to take these notes and put them into a mission statement for a cover sheet for the survey, correct? Whatever the survey is.
Well, once you define that mission statement, then you'll know what your questions need to be.
Right.
We have a list of questions already. Does that question fit any one of those needs? If it does, it stays. If it doesn't, it goes.
Okay. So
And
do
then we
we
can-
want to all write a mission statement and go over it the next time we meet and vote on one? Or do we want to all write one, bring it in, collaborate, and make one from the 5?
When do we want to be done with this survey? When do we want to be able to get it out?
What?
I mean, I asked that because, we got 2 weeks to go.
Can I go off topic for a second?
Yep,
Is everyone happy meeting every 2 weeks?
It's fine.
yep.
So we should be able to, if we can do our homework for the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, we should be able to get the survey pretty much done.
Wrap it up in 2 weeks.
Does that sound doable to everyone here?
Okay, I got a big resentment. Nobody wants to look at my questions. And
I asked you and you told me
so
one of
No, I
them.
was about to say,
Didn't I directly ask you what are your questions? If anyone had any other questions, and you read one of them, and then we moved
Well,
on.
no, that was the whole thing, interest in the pasture and agriculture and in buildings or crop hay.
No, they're all valid. They're all very important. Because we're on the same page, because I'm headed the same direction you are. Because
But
we're-
none of these questions even come close to that.
No, I know that, and I don't think Susan wrote, I think she pulled these off of what we had previously given to us.
yeah, the first part of it is the first survey that the first committee did. The second part of it comes from a website I found. Right now, they're plagiarized. This is like verbatim, so. So it's
So
not.
yeah,
really-
I don't think anyone's feelings are gonna be hurt if we don't use these questions, but we need to come up with questions after we figure out our submission statement.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Why don't, well, not quite a question. Why don't everyone work on this and then send it to me, and I can compile it and send it back out, so we can have a second look at it before we meet in 2 weeks?
Everyone okay with that?
Take a week,
Mhm.
come up with a
Amanda?
list of additional questions,
But yeah,
send it to
no,
me.
time to think is always valuable.
Mark, what we decided, we don't need to take a vote on that, do we? Okay, good. I don't wanna have to do that. What we decided to do was, we're gonna take these topics, we're all gonna work on them over the next week or so, send whatever we get to Susan, she's gonna compile them and send them back, and then when we meet again in 2 weeks, we can hopefully wrap up the survey.
Sounds good.
Is that okay with everybody?
So Susan,
So
Wait a minute,
working on
Amanda's
the-
looking at me
Well,
perplexed.
because I thought we were working on the questions, and now you're saying we're gonna take those and write that as a statement.
Is that what I said?
Part of what you said, yeah.
Okay.
That's gonna help us define what questions we wanna ask.
So what are we to send to Susan?
What are we, what?
What are we to send to Susan?
Your version
Our
of-
version of a submission statement
Okay.
for the
that's-
face sheet of the questionnaire, survey.
And then any of your questions, anything you
Want in survey
wanna share with
too.
everybody else, you count
So
questions.
that list you've compiled, you would send it so we could all look at the list, or anybody
Right.
else has other questions.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
So you said both things.
Yes.
so Susan, you're going to be compiling everything and sending us back a master list of questions that come from everybody? And there might be duplicates on there.
Correct.
We all good? Okay. Again, I don't have an agenda, so I don't know what we want. Wait, I will ask. Do we know anything, do you have anything new on trails? Have you talked to anybody? Okay.
I have something.
Yes, Mark?
I met with, I was over at the Nature Conservancy opening in Madison, but it's the Ossipee Pine Barrens the other day, and I was speaking with Chris Gumash, who is in charge of motorized trails, among other things. And in our conversation, talking about how the year looks, and, you know, he's gonna need cold weather to get registrations up, and wanted to know where he was on that. He had mentioned that there is now a large population of people, and I'm not a snowmobiler, that don't prefer to be on groomed trails, and prefer to backcountry, go in and out of obstacles and so forth. And it's something entirely new for the State Department, because all of their focus up till now has been groomed trails and clubs. And so they're looking for possibly some large parcels of land, and they're looking up in the North Country further up for big tracts of land that could be used for this purpose.
It'd be
For
like a
snowmobiles,
snowmobile park, for lack of a better term?
I guess. Wouldn't have groomed trails and so
Right,
forth.
yeah.
And he had heard that, you know, we were doing some visioning down in West Ossipee a couple weeks ago on possible uses for the Whittier property and so forth. And he was wanting to get in touch, and I told him I would get in touch with that group. So he was eager to have that conversation. At the same time, we're sitting on 900 acres.
Right.
With trails already on it.
Yeah, but trails and no trails, these people don't even want to be on trails. And they're, you know, to a certain point to get to a certain, but then they break track and go. So is my understanding. And I guess there's a whole new marketing, Rocky Mountains, you know, backcountry snowmobiles that are built for this purpose as opposed to built for, you know, complete trail riding.
Do you think that's something we should ask Chris Gamache to come in
I think we should have a
Interesting.
conversation.
and figure out see what they're looking for, what we can
You know,
offer?
Maybe it's something, maybe not. I had asked before to want to bring in motorized into the conversation, but, you know, it might fill a void for them. It might be something that might make sense for us, I don't know.
Well, I would want it to benefit the county somehow. So, yeah. I mean, I knew we talked about, we kind of separated non-motorized and motorized.
May not be anything for this year, it may be
Right,
something for
exactly.
next year. It may turn out that we don't have a use for 500 acres and it makes sense.
Right.
I'm just saying to have a conversation with the state, and same thing, here's our, here's where we are. He helped us, providing us the motorized map and stuff, and see if it might make sense. I think it's worth having a
So,
conversation.
would you mind getting in touch with him to see
happy
if we
to,
could set up a Friday meeting up here with us in the future, near future?
Yeah, and this separation of motorized versus non-motorized, I thought that was primarily in the summertime.
The difference between the two, this would be winter use
Yeah,
only, this
this
is
is
an
winter only,
ATV.
which
Right.
is fine, I would think.
Well, I think the reason why we separated it was just for less work for us, because we wanted to concentrate on non-motorized first, and then bring in motorized after. I believe that's how we came to that conclusion earlier in the proceedings. So yeah, I'm okay with it, if you guys are okay with it.
My first question would be, they just have like carte blanche over all the property? That
Well-
causes major concern for me.
Defined area,
Right.
and they move through it. I'm sure like anything else, you block out sensitive resources and so forth. But they're not, this clientele, and I don't think they're ready to launch anything this winter. They're trying to think that this is the next move on where people want to be.
It's like
Yeah.
cross-country skiing versus
Could be.
downhill, isn't it, in terms of groomed pathways versus breaking off into the,
Well, no, cross-country skiing is groomed pathways unless you're bushwhacking.
oh, well, I always thought it was bushwhacking.
Right, no, I mean, you have downhill
So-
skiing, and then you have downhill skiing on groomed trails, and then you have backcountry downhill skiing where they're going through trees this far apart.
Well, I'm just
No,
thinking about
thanks.
the impact, the economic.
Right.
Well,
environmental impact.
they're struggling through this whole thing themselves, how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And he's getting ready to come into his busy season, so it may be, towards the end of winter that he, has that possibility.
Right.
But I'd like to say to him, that, he's aware of one facility where they were talking, but here we have another facility of 900 acres that
Mhm.
might be of interest.
Right.
We don't have to commit to anything, but let's hear about it. How do you protect your sensitive, and if someone were to develop something over here, we want to keep them out of there. But I think, you look at the economic engine that ATVs are up north, and they'll travel.
Yeah.
Maybe some minor set of population would come here. And if they come here, they're gonna buy gas, they're gonna get rooms, they're gonna have dinners, and all that sort of thing. So I'm just saying that, let's talk to them about it. They also have a state park down here. Maybe they wouldn't have any interest in us, so. But I think we could have the
It's
conversation.
definitely worth, and in my mind, it's definitely worth a conversation.
And my second item was, after, it became rather complicated, but we got the tax cards from the town of Ossipee.
I had those right along, I could have given them to you.
And so we have that, and I'll pull that together with an overhead map.
Okay.
So, but it became quite a,
You did get them in PDF form.
yes. And I'll have those for you for the next week, 2 weeks when we meet.
Refresh my memory, because I'm not 100% for sure. But was Steve going to talk to Ken about buildings and equipment?
We have the list of equipment.
Okay,
We have that on file somewhere.
okay,
But he had asked Ken if we could get if he could approach the town for the tax cards to get our building.
right.
And then some corn husk got in the way there. I was trying to come up with
Okay.
a term. And then it became who could make that request. And I had to make a formal request on behalf of the committee to the clerk, and then the clerk then took my recommendation and then acted by going to the town, and we finally got the cards.
So we got it.
We got the cards.
Yeah.
Couple hoops and a couple pieces of red tape, and we got it. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me as long as we have it.
We have it.
Right.
That's all that
the result's
matters.
done. Susan, you want to relate what you were telling me about the trails today?
Which?
About,
You were talking about the handicapped access trail,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well, other than, I've been trying to reach John Roberts, and he's just busy, so I haven't tried to reach him. I don't think a lot has to come down. Most of that trail, I think, is just brush. There's not anything large that has to come down. It's marked, and I haven't walked it yet because I've been waiting to meet John. And that's about it. What else?
he was gonna work on the waterway, right?
Well, I want to talk to him about that. We don't know whether or not, I think that ditch is deep enough, it's going to need a bridge, but it may need a culvert only.
Is
But I
that
need,
some-
I need him to look
I
at it.
don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well,
Comment.
this man that she's waiting on had volunteered to do the gravel work, I guess, right?
I don't know, we talked about 500 feet of trail, and he was willing to, a couple of years ago, he talked to the committee, he was willing to do that work, and he's still willing to do it. But he has yet to come out to look at it, so I don't know to what extent, I mean, is he talking about, A to Z, or what exactly, but he's volunteered to.
But
do
you've
the
been
work.
waiting for him to come look at it for quite a while,
Yes.
which interferes with getting it done this fall.
Yep.
Yep, it does.
I was just wondering if maybe there was any other dirt moving company that,
I have no idea what you're trying to build or whatever,
We can
we
go
could
and
come,
look
we
at
could
it.
come up with a machine for a day, I don't have a problem with that. But are you paying someone to do this, or you're just gonna volunteer to do it for you?
He was volunteering,
Okay.
but to what extent he was volunteering, I don't know. I wanted him to come and see what work had to happen.
I'm gonna take a look at it.
Well, we have, if I'm wrong, let me know, I know you will. But we have some money for materials for said project as well, correct?
We agreed that the remainder of that
Grant?
Primex grant could be applied to that
Okay.
trail as well. So we've got $3,750 or something like that for the two.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Okay, as far as my update, the scouts will be here Sunday. They're gonna finish row 2 and hopefully start row 3. As far as what they're doing is they use the sawdust that was brought down as the first layer, and then the chips that Mark brought in are going on top of the sawdust. And it seems row 1 is complete. It seems to be working pretty well. So they're gonna try to get 2 done Sunday and start on row 3. We still have a plan to get the water system set up before winter. And we're hopeful we can secure the equipment needed for that.
there's an underground shut-off out there already.
Right, yeah, the supply isn't the issue. It's the distribution of the water
Mhm.
to the plants. And we think we've got it figured out. But we're just gonna use 3/4 inch black plastic PVC pipe, and there's an attachment you can put in there, a little tube that's like this long to wrap around the tree with holes in it to equally water each plant separately. So that's sort of the plan we're gonna
Drip
go.
irrigation.
Yeah, yep.
Is it PVC or is it?
It's a black
It's
plastic.
a black plastic,
Yeah.
okay.
You must be familiar.
Yeah, I am.
It's not as stiff as black plastic, as PVC.
Right.
But that's the plan with that. They did camp here, I think we talked about that the last time.
Yeah.
They appreciated you coming down and reading the letter, that meant a lot to them. So they wanted me to relay a thank you to you for that. And
My pleasure.
they're really looking forward to next year. And we're still hopeful to get Sandwich and Wolfboro, was it? Wakefield, yes, involved in as well. So that's all I have on that.
Did you ever get a letter off to those laser hawk people?
We're doing a rewrite
Okay.
So it'll be done within the next week,
Okay.
and then we're gonna send it off. Right, I told you about that, didn't I? We were trying to decide whether we wanted to do netting around the plants or this green laser system that's big out west. There isn't any on this side of Mississippi. So what we decided to do was write a letter to the three sellers of this system and say, hey, if you'd like to have a really nice place for potential people to come look at your laser work, we have a field for you. And either donate it to us or give it to us at a less cost, and we'll be glad to let people come look at it. Similar to that. So we're working on that letter to request that for this. So, because a system for, I think, 3 or 4 acres was over $9,000. So we don't want to spend that much. But we kind of like the idea because it's less maintenance.
They also have I don't know exactly what it is, but it's solar run, and it's little, they look kind of like, the old discs we used to use, but it sends off a noise similar to a hawk or something, I guess.
Oh, really?
That
We'll look
keeps them
into that,
away, but
too.
it's solar powered,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work at night, so.
The boys wanted, you know those when you drive by a used car dealership and they have those socks that go with them?
Yeah.
They wanted to get like 5 or 6 of those to put on and then shut off. I'm like, A, that would scare the crap out of me when I walked by. And B, it would be really funny, but I bet it would work. So that was their idea, which was a good idea.
It might work.
Yeah, I know, right? But it would definitely be something to see. So yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Does anybody else have anything pressing? I do want to do, before we stop, there were minutes from last meeting. We should probably approve those, right?
Yep.
That's what Steve used to do. So I figured I'd just do what he did. I don't know how he did it.
I'll
Do we have-
I
make a
can't
motion to accept-
Yes, but I wasn't here, so I can't do that. I have to abstain.
So move to accept the minutes as distributed, unless there are corrections or deletions.
Any second?
Second,
For what date?
the October 5th meeting?
Any discussion?
You need a second.
She seconded.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I abstain.
He did.
Would I suggest that Susan pen a little letter in conjunction with you thanking Steve for his work and time spent with us, and
Yeah.
of his future endeavors are
Yeah, it's Robert Garland as well.
great.
Oh,
Could you get me Vaughn's address?
Sure. Yep.
And you, Roberts? Bob Garland.
got it.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, our next meeting is when?
2 o'clock
November
on the
2nd.
November 2nd?
You want to meet at 2 or 3?
Oh, no, is that a Friday?
Yeah, all our meetings are on Friday.
I know that.